this is Cindy from VintageToNew. Want to sew a strong, washable grocery bag that folds up for storage in your purse or a car? Whether you keep it for yourself or give it to a friend, this easy tutorial is for you. Remember to please sign up for my newsletter down in the description below. I'll have freebies, coupons, and other good stuff. So, without delay, let's get started right away sewing this little grocery bag. Okay, so let's get started with making our shopping bag. I wrote out the measurements I'm using, but you can change these to any measurement that you would like to have. So my bag is going to be 13 inches wide and 16 inches tall. All right, you need a front and a back. The depth of the bag I chose is to cut my strip 4 inches wide, and I figured out that I need 45 inches to make the bag. So that would be the length of the front on both sides and the width. So that gives me 45 inches. I cut a piece 3 inches wide for the top facing, and we'll just measure that when we put it around the top. I cut 4-inch wide width of fabric for the straps. You need some single fold bias tape. You can buy it or you can make it. And if you would like to see a video on how to make single fold bias tape, let me know down below. And then a snap fastener and just a little scrap to make a tab. And you'll see how that works out later. So let's get sewing. So I took my 4-inch wide fabric and I started by lining up the top very evenly, pin down the sides. When I got down here to the corner, I didn't try to pull it or twist it, but I made it so that I can sew around this corner without a lot of puckering right there, and I will just trim off this little pointed piece here at the edge. Then we'll sew across the bottom, do the other side, and come back up to the top. Now, this is all I had left from the width of my fabric for this size of a bag. So keep in mind, if you increase the size of your bag, you may have to cut 2 pieces and put them together to get enough width to do this for the bag. So I'm going to just trim this off right across the top, like so. And now I am just going to sew this piece down. So literally just that fast, we sewed around the edge. Now I'm going to trim this to round off this corner, and then I'm going to trim this corner also. Now I'm going to take my other piece and pin it right sides together, lining up the top on both sides, and go around it again. Sewing bias tape on this bag is exactly the same as any other time. So you open up your bias tape, and I sewed this bag at 3/8 of an inch seam. So I'm not going to be sewing right along the same seam. It will be a little farther over, and that's just fine. Gives your bag even more strength. So you just put your presser foot down and you start sewing at that first fold, and that's 1/4 inch. So you just take your time and you sew all the way down. It's always best to stop with your needle down. This machine doesn't have it to do it automatically, and I really miss that. But for things like this where you're pulling on it, it's really good to have that needle down. And so what you do is you just very slowly match your raw edges with the bias tape, and you stay sewing in that 1/4 inch and work yourself around this little corner. And that's why you need bias tape, because this stretches right here as we go around. So now we're back to the straight part of the bottom of the bag. And so I will meet you at the top and we'll go down the other side. So here we go down the side. So you just fold it up and over Because we still have that big seam allowance here, you just need to work it until you can fold it up and over and stitch it down. You could trim it off a little if that bothers you, but this is going to work out great. And not only does this encase the seams so that they can't ravel, that's a really good thing. It makes it a lot stronger because you're actually stitching 2 more times to do this, and this binding, this bias tape adds strength. So this is going to be a really strong bag when we're done. So you just keep working it. And we're down here to the corner. And I am going to trim this just a little bit. So there we go. Over. Needle down. Around the corner. And now we're to the straight part of the bottom of the bag, and then we'll just go around the next corner and up the side, just like we've been doing. So the inside of our bag is completely done, and it's just wonderful. So let's get started on the handles. So what I'm going to do is take it over and press it this way. Then I'm going to fold in this side and press it, this side and press it, and then we will sew it down, making a 1-inch handle that looks like this, and it's nice and sturdy. If you're not using a really nice heavy-duty fabric, you could put some Peltex inside of here. Peltex is made by Pellon, and it's a really sturdy stabilizer. It makes great handles. But for this bag for today, I'm just going to do it like this. So here's my fabric all pressed, and I'm just going to fold it up like this, and I'm going to sew down both sides using a little bit longer stitch, and I'm going to do it at about 1/8 of an inch right along both sides. So here are my finished handles. They turned out just great. I'm going to take and I'm going to cut this in half. I just used the width of the fabric. You can adjust the length of your handles to anything that you would like. And then you need to decide where you would like your handles to be on the bag, and then pin them in place front and back. We need to make the little snap flap that we're going to use. So this piece of fabric is just a scrap, and it's 3 inches wide and 11 inches long. All right, so I'm ready to do this little flap, and I want it to be a little sturdier, a little more body than just 2 layers of this canvas. So I cut another piece of canvas, and I'm going to put it not clear down to the fold, but close, maybe 1/4 inch from the fold, and this will just give me more pieces to it. Or you could use a piece of Pellon. So I'm just going to sew 3/8 inch seam down the sides. My stitches are right here and right here. So I'm going to trim this corner really close to that, like this, so that I can get a nice tight square corner. And then I'm going to trim this seam down so it's not so big and bulky, like that. And now I'm just going to turn this right side out. And it's big enough that you should be able to turn it just fine. Use my trusty bone folder. All right. And as I get down here, I'm not going to push this hard on the corners because you will come through. And that's never good. So just nice and gentle in the corners. So there. Now I'm going to take this over and press this so that I'm going to roll out these seams and press it, and then top stitch it. So we have pinned our handles on the top. I did mine 2 inches from the side. I put them approximately 1 inch above the top of the bag. I did the front and the back, both the same. And then I pinned this little flap, and it can be right level with the top of your bag. So we're going to take our facing, and we're going to fold it in half like this and sew it around the top of the bag. When we get started, we're going to start here on one of the sides, and we're going to leave about 2 inches open here on the side, and then we're just going to sew it. And if you aren't comfortable, you can pin it all the way around. So you'll just pin right over the top of your handles, like so. Or you can just, if you're comfortable, just sew it all the way around, and then we'll finish our seam when we get to this side. So leave a good 2 inches here. All right, so let's get sewing. I have sewn all the way around the top of my bag, and I back tacked over all the straps as I was going around. And one word of warning, when you pin these on, if you have a new machine that you're not comfortable running over a pin, be sure and pull those out before you sew over the top of them. This old white sewing machine, some of the older machines have no problem at all sewing over pins. They don't ever cause trouble. But I know that my new Bernina, the little princess, would really object, and it could really cause a lot of trouble. We're back to the beginning where we had this, and I'm going to measure this and see where I need to cut it to have the exact right amount left here for just a seam allowance. Then I'm going to take it and sew it, and then finish sewing it around. I'm going to put this together. Like this. Take it to my machine, stitch it, and then finish sewing around the top. I stitched my raw edges together, and then I folded it in half, and now I'm going to finish sewing it across here. And be sure and make your cut right so that you have the right amount to go around. But if you're having trouble stitching it, just undo a few stitches and it should work out great for you. So let's go on to the next step. I took it over to the ironing board, and I pressed my top facing to the inside, folding it right along that top edge. If any of your handles are hanging out below this edge, trim them off so that they're just right below the inside of that edge. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to top stitch this down all the way around, and then I'll show you what's next. One tip when you are top stitching around here, be sure to pull your handles and this flap out of the way so you don't accidentally run over your handle when you're top stitching. Okay, so I top stitched all along the top of the bag, and so we have a really nice finish on the inside of our bag. All of our seams are encased, and so the last 2 things we're going to do, just to add some extra strength, is we are going to sew an X here. So you'll sew across and down and up and back like that on all 4 straps. So let me do that, and then we'll do our very last step. So here is our almost completed bag. This is what the little X's look like on the handles, so that they're nice and strong. Okay, so we're going to start with our flap in the back. All right, and this is how we're going to fold our bag up. We're going to take our handles and put them down inside the bag, so they're nice and neat inside the bag. Then we're going to take this side and we're going to fold it over to just on the other side, maybe 1.5 inches from the top of the flap and then do the same on this side. All right. And then here's the tricky part. You need to decide how you can, in your mind, you want to fold this every time because you need to be able to fold it the same. You could fold it up and fold it like this, but I think for myself, I would fold it up in half and then fold it in half again. And you get a nice compact little size, and that's a real easy thing to do. Bring this down and over. And I'm going to put my snap here. So I'm going to mark where my hole is here and here. And I'm going to use one of my cam snaps. I use cam snaps all the time. Now, you have to put your thinking cap on because these are really hard to get out if you do it wrong. So we're going to put this piece in here, and then the piece that snaps to the other piece. It doesn't matter which, but you have to put that on the inside like that and squish it. All right, then we're going to unfold our bag. Now, you might want to stick this here. No, no, no. This part would go on the inside here, finding the little thing to poke it up through. So it comes out right there where we marked. And then this part would go here. And then you have to just wiggle this in until you can get it so that it will seat. So I've got the little top in the bottom here, and I'm ready to smash it. All right, so let's see if we can fold it again, just the way it goes. So we have our flap, we're going to put it in the back. We're going to take our handles and put them down inside. Give them a good little shake. Handles are down inside. We're going to take this and fold it over so that it has about 1.5 inches on the side of our flap right there. Same with this side. We folded it in half, and then we folded it in half again. And let's hope for the best, and it worked. We have a really nice folded up bag that could go in your purse, or it could just be put in your car so that you're just always ready with a good little shopping bag. And so when you're ready, you just unsnap it and you're ready to go. So until next time, this was Cindy from Vintage to New.